Hey Riddle, are we able to pull up like issue paid annuity sales? I know I was at 1.5 million for the year, and I think there's like a leaderboard on it, but I think it would be cool to kind of show like the. I don't know if it's possible, but I think that would be cool. So Chris asked me to talk about this, and I think it's. I'm not even really sure exactly where we're at with annuities issue paid premium or anything like that, but I definitely wanted to kind of talk about the strategy, because if we boil it down, this process is so simple. Like anybody can do it. Like you don't have to be the expert. I think that's what's so cool about the Greensheet. So I'll kind of tell you a story. When we started, it was like, imagine trying to learn all this about mortgage protection, final expense, not being good, getting beat up on the phone, going to the houses, people it's like, it was so much to try to ascertain all these different things. And so I remember like thinking that annuities were scary. Okay. I remember like I didn't even know where to start with learning them. And matter of fact, I didn't even really sell an annuity until my grandfather thankfully was like, all right, I'll buy one from you. That was actually what ended up happening. And I learned a lot through that process. And it helped him. Like he still has it. He loves it. He doesn't lose any money. It pays a lifetime income stream. So I learned a lot from going through the process. But what I realized is not everybody has a grandfather that's like, yeah, sure, throw 64 grand in there, why not, And so what Chris Norris has done, really it's Andy Albright, is he set up a system to streamline annuity sales. So now we don't have to be the expert walking in. We just have to be a good pointer. Right. And so I think the biggest thing that has changed for us, I think they showed the numbers in like issue paid on the leaderboards on NatCon. I believe it was like I did 60,000, 64,000. And then I went like 250,000. And then it was like 1.5 million or something like that. And it was the year that Chris Norris started working with us. And so what I'm going to show you is the simple, easy process for anybody to be able to write an annuity. Is anybody interested in that?
Yes.
All right. So the first thing is, I would say, backing up to the beginning, the first thing you have to have, what is every single person that you help out, what do you have to have with them first? Absolutely. You have to have a connection. They have to like you and they have to trust you. Okay. I don't think that it's possible really to help anybody without first gaining that common ground. Okay. And then I always like to look at like what the reason that they filled the actual request out. Let's help them with that first. Right. I had a woman this week, actually, I think, yeah, you were with me, Mom. This was last week. Al and Doug. So do you remember how when we got there, well, first off, her name is Alshia, okay? She's a smoker. She's got a very deep voice, and she goes by Al, okay? Threw me for a loop. It was like one of these, Mark, hey, Al. It was one of those. Like, I wasn't too sure, and then we got it, and it was awesome. But anyway, the request that she filled out was initially for final expense, okay? As I'm going through the information on A Little About You, which is in the ATM, so this page right here, we found out that she had 2 401ks, okay? So what I used to do, which is wrong, what I used to do is I used to get all fired up when I would find out they got a 401k. I'd be like, awesome. Well, we got these annuities and they don't lose money and they're indexed to the market and they're awesome and you need to get one, right? And then what I ended up doing is dovetail off this, confusing the heck out of them and then not making the final expense sale. Has anybody ever done this? Okay. So keeping it real simple, all we're doing on this page is just fact finding. They could tell me they have $6 million in IRA. I'm like, okay, 6 million, is that it? Anything else? Right? Like that's how I act. It's just no big deal. It doesn't matter how much they have. And I want you to honestly run through a scenario where someone tells you they have $10 million in IRA and you have to respond 100% calm, like no big deal, like we see it all the time. 10 million. You could even say something like this, 10 million. Is that anything else? Is that it? You know, like just practice this, right? Practice it, right? Because what's going to happen is it's going to pop up and your heart's going to start pounding and you're going to start breathing heavy, and then you intimidate yourself out of this whole thing. It's no big deal, right? You're just fact finding. You're just getting all the information. So no pressure here. You really just got to get the information. However, if they do have a 401k, CDs, IRA, stocks, retirement savings, anything like that, I write that down, okay? And then I just put a little circle or a star next to it to remind myself to get a green sheet, okay? Because who's gotten to the end of they got a $400,000, IRA. You got to the end, you got your check, you got an application, you got your whatever, and you're out the door. And then you're like, oh, I forgot. I had a $400,000 annuity. Anybody ever done that before? Yeah. Okay, so
let's move on, Brad. That's
yeah. So put yourself a little star. I write GWR, which stands for Growth Without Risk, just a reminder for me to give them a book. But again, fact finding. We get all this information. Help them with what they first requested, right? So we helped Al and Doug. It was like $10,000 in final expense each, okay? After we had completely finished all that, I said, I always put my hands, I'm big on like hand motions. You guys know that this naturally is like very, you're guarding your heart. Your most valuable like vitals are right here in your heart. It's like people cross their arms because they feel threatened or intimidated or something like that, right? So they're guarding, right? I'm real big on open posture. Open hands is big. Like it's a sign of like innocence, like honesty, right? So I open my hands like this and say, like, honestly, guys, do you guys feel good about this? Do you have any questions about what we did today? Anything I can clarify? I want to make sure they're 100% on board before we move forward. Because if they've got a question about what we just did here, there's no way they trust me to go down the retirement path. Y'all tracking on that? So let's make sure everything's good. Any questions y'all feel good about? And I'll even say something like, I'll say something like, and honestly, Al, do you feel a little bit better now knowing anything happens to you, Doug and the family are completely taken care of? Do you feel good about that? Absolutely. Okay. So I'll get my ERS, which is one of the 4 basics, making sure y'all know the 4 basics, right? Number 1 is pick up a check or pick up the phone and call us. Number 2 is ERS referrals and RX cards. Okay. Number 3 is what we're about to do, and that's the green sheet. Okay. And here's how you do this. It's super simple. I have 35 minutes to cover something that.
If you're done early.
Yeah, we'll take questions. So it's real simple how it works, and then I'm going to show you. And 4 is recruit.
Yeah, I might even make some comments.
Please. Okay. So just question, like, and how old are you, Madison? 18 years old, right? How old does it look like I am? Just take a guess. 25, 26 years old, right? How, if I was to, let's just say I just met, it's Rich, right? Rich. If I just met Rich and I look 25 years old, okay? If I come in and I try to act like I'm Mr. Suave, insurance salesman, and I got the best retirement strategies, you're immediately going to be very skeptical. Look at him now.
He's already there.
He's already got his arms crossed. He's like, dude, right. But, well, it is comfortable, but here's the reality, okay? I could never convince Rich that I'm, the best guy in retirement in the world. However, if he likes me and trusts me a little bit, and I edify somebody else that I trust and I use, all of a sudden now people like people who like people. Have y'all heard that before? So I'm not talking about myself and how great I am. I'm talking about this guy named Chris Norris. Okay. So here's how we talk about it. People only remember an image that you paint in their mind. Okay. That's what we actually anchor memories to, is images, right? Like Shelly has a photographic memory, right? So she just passed her exam like that, and she says she's a really good test taker. I would venture to guess everything that you remember has an image that you remember it by, right? And so people remember these images. So if we paint a healthy image of Chris Norris, they're going to remember. So y'all want to know how I help them remember it? I say, have y'all ever heard of Chuck Norris? Right? The guy, the Taekwondo guy with the the drop kick that can like knock somebody into the next planet, right? So Chuck Norris, we actually we joke about this, but we call him the Chuck Norris, his name is Chris Norris, sorry. We call him the Chuck Norris of the financial world. His name is Chris Norris, okay? And he has 25 years of experience. And what he does is he shops all the different companies out there, all the different brokerage accounts, the interest rates, bonuses, anything that really is going to help save you money and get you a better return. He looks at all of those different options. And really his whole goal, he doesn't get paid off commission. He gets paid off salary, but his goal is to help save you money and put your retirement into the best possible place it can be. Okay. So this is a true story. I have a woman, I call her Nanny, but her name's Conchetta. She goes by Connie. And I actually just talked to her today, Joe. She's a sweetheart. But she was getting $500 a month from an Oppenheimer retirement. Y'all ever heard of Oppenheimer, the mutual fund? Okay, she was getting $500 a month from Oppenheimer, okay? We got her an appointment with Chris Norris. Chris looked at everything, and not only did he reduce the fees that she was paying, we got her a guaranteed $1,261 a month, guaranteed income stream for the rest of her life, okay? Now, I'm not saying that your scenario, Mark, is going to be the exact same. And I'm not even saying that Chris is going to be able to help you, because I've been to several times where we've had an appointment, and I've been there several times where Chris honestly says, hey, your portfolio is doing great. Keep it right where it's at. You know, mine is pretty much about the same, if anything else. So all I'm suggesting is it's probably worth taking a second look at if we have an expert that's willing to do it for free, okay? And then what I do is I just have this green sheet right here. It has all their information on it because we use this to collect the information. And I just say, right here, we just want you to sign because that gives Chris permission to give you a call, okay? So sign right here. I just slide it over, have them sign it. And then I pull out my simplybook.me. I have a link on my phone. Does everybody have the BACM Alliance Simply Book? It's like it's Burlington Alliance CM.simplybook.me. I can post this to Riddle Group. Yeah. I just posted it to Riddle Group if that helps. So all you do is you pull up this little calendar and you check book now, okay? And then you scroll through like Tuesday, tomorrow, he's got at 8 a.m., okay? The sooner I can get them on the schedule, the more likely I'm gonna be able to help them out, okay? So I like to do it like the next day or the next day I'm gonna be in the field. Let's say they don't have their statements and stuff. I say, well, can we print some out? He's gonna need to look at those for, you know, what it's allocated in to make sure that he's getting you the best possible deal. So I get him to sign the green sheet, and then I go ahead and I book a time with them, with Chris, on the schedule. So let's just say we picked 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I click on that, I enter all their information, and then that sends them a confirmation email. So they're gonna get a confirmation email, hey, you have an appointment with Chris Norris tomorrow at 8 a.m., okay? Then I take it one step further. I take out their cell phone and I plug Chris Norris's cell phone in their phone, okay? And then I'd even take it one step further again. You don't have to do this, but I think it's really important. Again, visuals. I have a selfie with Chris Norris that I save in their phone, and it's me and Chris Norris taking a thumbs up together right there in front of the Alliance Jacks building. So we took this intentionally for this purpose, but next time he's in town, I would get a selfie with Chris Norris. Do you have to have a picture with him? No. You can just save his number, put a big star by it, and say financial Chris Norris, something like that. But that way when he calls, I want it to be like the red carpet is rolled out for Chris Norris walking in, and he's like going to save the day. That's the expectations I have. I set those expectations. And when the proper edification is there, it's crazy what Chris can do to help people, because the common theme to everything that the the conversation we have back is he always says, wow, you did a really good job teeing me up. Right. And it's not, I don't think Chris Norris is, I mean, he's got a bunch of experience. I don't think it's Chris Norris is something absolutely incredible, like he's going to make you millions of dollars. But I think the trust is the most important part, and to be able to build that trust with a client and then transfer that trust is what's going to be able to help you help people with retirement products. And I listen to the call. So whenever the appointment is, let's say it's 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm at the house when Chris calls, or we call Chris, however it is, I'm at the house to sit there with the client to take notes and make sure everything's done properly. And so there's a lot of tips there, because every time Chris Norris is having a conversation with my client, I'm there to learn, right? I could tell you one quick story. So I was in a house, and this guy, he said, I don't want to talk with anybody else. I'm totally fine where I'm at. And I said, okay, no problem. I mean, I completely understand. It's totally fine. And so we talked a little bit more, built a little bit more rapport, and I told another story about a client. We had saved some money. He said, all right, fine. I'll have the conversation with him. He goes, what's the worst that could happen? And so this guy, Robert Mast, who I've actually rolled 2 annuities with now, he thought for sure he was in a 7% surrender charge on a product. He was 100% positive. Okay. Well, we sent the statement over to Chris, and the surrender charge was only 3%. Okay. Well, Robert on the phone said, no, it's a 7% surrender charge. I'm not doing anything with it. Well, Chris didn't correct him, didn't say, no, you're wrong. It's right here. It's actually 3%, and we could do something with it. He said, oh, well, listen, if it's 7%, you're doing the right thing. It's the best place it could possibly be. Leave it right where it's at. You're in good hands. And so we hung up the phone. Well, Chris texted me. He said, hey, I just want to let you know it's actually 3%. If you want, we could take another look at it. And so he said, look at the actual policy. And so I looked at the policy and I said, oh, hey, Robert, what does this say right here about the surrender charge? And he scrolls down and he goes, oh, I'll be darned. It's actually 3%. And he goes, you know what? He goes, since that guy that you were talking about, Chris Norris, is such an honest guy, he's the kind of guy I want to do business with. Let's give him a call back.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's good.
And I tell that story because there's little stuff that Chris does. He's got so much experience on the phone. He's able to read a client really well. And he's good. Like, he knows how to treat people, and he's very, very trustworthy. And so I learn a lot from him, listening to him talk to clients. But I think really when you boil it down, not to get too complicated, I would say paint Chris in a light that he's there to help. He's trustworthy. He's not he doesn't make commission off of it. So there's no other interest for him other than really making sure your retirement is the best possible situation. So questions on that piece? Cool. And cut. No. Cool.
Ask people online.
Hey, out there, I think it's Stephen Duffy online. Any questions at all I can clarify?
Nick, Jason, Paul, Harry, chat.
You can type in the chat.
Yeah, I'll read it. We'll give him a good 30 seconds.
These are people that.
Giving you guys about 30 seconds to type something if you have a question. If not, no big deal.
My sister and my cousins who are retired,
Mm-hmm.
if I was to present this to them, I can show this to them.
Yeah. So, and here's the cool thing. I would get a green sheet for them. I don't talk about product. I don't talk about anything the product, the bonuses. I try to keep it as vanilla as possible because I want Chris to look at their situation, and then he'll find the right fit for them. And that's the beauty of it. Like, you don't have to know what you're talking about. You can just be like, this guy's awesome. He's got 25 years experience. He's a great guy. You know, I want you to at least have him take a look at your portfolio and see if he can optimize it. Sometimes there's some fees that you're paying that are hidden that you don't realize. Sometimes you're losing money in the market. And sometimes like the purpose of the account is for income, and we can actually find a strategy that's going to get you more income. So we'll look at it, but I would get a green sheet and then send it to the, it's a Greensheet at bacapitalmanagement.com.
Would you have a couple questions?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Court, can you read the first? One of them is an IUL question, so I was going to
Okay, so what if you have the money yourself and you want to roll it to an IUL, elaborate some, and it's coming from a 401k?
So in that case, we have to do kind of a two-part strategy. We will use BAM. We use Chris Norris. We're going to take that money. You can roll it. We may even be able to do some tax favorable things like a 1035 exchange. I'd have to work with Chris on that. We would take the money from an old 401k, move it to really kind of an equity account. I'm not sure. Have you ever done this?
Yeah.
Chris has taught. I mean, we've talked. And I mean, I get the concept of it.
Yeah.
Once it's there, we're going to you'd write yourself an IUL, but the source would be like, instead of it coming out of your checking account, it would come out of this new account that's going to be gaining interest while you have it, but we're structuring it into. You probably will, going from a qualified account, if you do a 1035 exchange from your 401k to this new account, you will pay income tax as you stream it out over the course of 7 years. But that's the only thing you'll pay, since you can use that. And that will set up. And if you're young enough to be worth it. Otherwise, if you're over 55, which Jason I don't think is, I think he's a lot younger than that, you would probably use like an annuity. It would be a better vehicle. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, same exact thing.
Okay.
Okay,
But
so-
yeah, and that's something, Jason, just because you're on my team, I can kind of work with you individually on that too, if that's something you're interested in looking at for yourself.
And Chad, if I'm reading this correctly, you've already answered your question. So if not, let me know. But the next question is, does Norris give you that annuity to write, or does he write them?
Okay, so great question. So, and this is kind of cool because Chris can sell the annuity for you, and he can actually have his staff take care of the entire application without you having to go back out for signatures. If you do select that option where you don't go back out, you don't take care of any paperwork, they do charge, it's like a 5%.
It's barely anything.
Yeah, almost nothing, 5% charge for that.
It's worth it.
But we had a case, Chuck Betts, actually a guy out of Columbus, Ohio, had a case where the referral was in Texas.
Oh,
Chuck didn't want to go all the way to Texas, and so had Kelly Hook and Chris
Just did the
take
whole
care of
thing.
everything. And
you just got a paycheck.
yeah, you just got a paycheck in the mail, so or in direct deposit. So think about, if it's something where you've already got the rapport. I always feel like when in doubt, it's better to everything good happens face to face. And we did have some feedback on those that the fallout ratio is higher if you don't go back out. So if it's possible for you to get back out there, I would say get back out there. But it is kind of nice to know that they have that option where they can do it all for you.
That's it.
Chad didn't have the other one about the detailed.
He said, never mind, that answers it. So I think you
Okay,
answered
go
it.
ahead. Okay. Brad, do you have a question?
Is that 5% of what?
So, and
I
I have
don't
to
know if it's
pull up.
5 or.
Yeah, I'd have to pull up the.
Yeah.
It actually depends on the amount that they're rolling.
Yeah.
I think there's even the age of the client that's in there. But I think the most they charge is 5% of the commission that you would get. So like if like
$1,000.
Yeah.
$50.
$50.
$50.
Exactly.
Okay, deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's a great deal. It's crazy.
I'm
Yeah.
down with even 15, honestly.
Yeah.
If I don't have to touch a piece of paper, I'm in.
Yeah, and it's not like Chris is making money on that. That just covers administrative costs.
But to Brant's point, even if they handle it, because you're the one that had the report and we have the statistics to show,
Yeah.
it's better. Like you're the glue or the lubrication between
Yeah.
that deal.
Mhm.
So don't want to just hand it off.
Could you review one more time? When do you get them to sign the green sheet?
After I've gotten all the information filled out, after I've helped them with what I came for, I've capped everything off, like everything is completely closed with the final expense. I change gears and I just say, hey, quick question that, like, for instance, Al had 2 401ks and I said, now, can I ask a couple questions on those? I said, are those old 401ks? Or are you currently contributing to those? And she said, oh, no, those are old. Those from my old job. And I said, okay, well, how are they performing for you? Do you keep track of them? Or she said, well, I don't think they're really doing much. And I said, well, do you call the broker like directly, or do you just deal straight with the company? Do you have like a person you work with? And she goes, no, I just call directly to the company. And she goes, matter of fact, I haven't talked to him in a while. And she goes, I need to do something with those. So, and you'll be able to kind of take a temperature on if they're happy with the person and they're the greatest thing in the world, or I just helped a guy a $400,000 annuity and he was losing money, paying high fees, and doesn't like the broker anyway. Never did. Right. The guy who referred him to him doesn't use him. And he's like, why would I use this guy?
So this is when you use the line, free look.
Right. Yeah.
Say that again. What's the line?
So I just say, you know, I can't promise you that Chris is going to be able to put you in a better situation. Odds are you might be in the best situation possible, but it probably is worth a free look, second look, you know, second opinion, don't you think?
And then you say,
oh, I make this no big deal at all. This is I don't make it weird at all. I literally just like, oh, and this just by the way, this just allows them to be able to call you legally. They got to have it on file. So that's you there. Mm-hmm. I learned this one time. The bigger of a deal it is to you,
Yep.
the bigger of a deal it is to a client.
Amen.
Right. And so like, if stuff is no big deal to you, they don't, I mean, literally like people never have any problem with signing stuff and like that, because it's just no big deal. It's like, oh, just, get this knocked out. Like
100%. Yeah. I think Bob has a question. We'll get you the mic.
I was just going to say, when you were talking about rolling that IRA,
Yeah.
or that 401k over, you
Yeah.
said you had to pay taxes. He's less than 59.5. He's going to pay penalties as well.
Yeah, they will. And that's something that would be one of those things that we'd have Chris look at to see if it's worth. It may be, you know, depending on what you end up with. Because when you get into retirement type stuff, we say it's better to pay taxes on the seed than the harvest.
Right.
So paying capital gains now might be cheaper than paying income tax when you're 59.5 and it's grown to something massive. So it just depends. Dee Dee,
Quick question.
keep that mic right there, girl. Okay.
I think this is going to be more for you because you were in the service.
Okay.
And my son is retiring next year.
Okay.
And I wanted to know, well, when they get back from their vacation, I wanted to present to them would this work for them? Because I know the government gives so much. So I just
Can't give that much.
the way my daughter-in-law tells me, I'm like, oh.
So, I mean, it depends on what it is. They have, because while he's active, he has something called SGLI, Service Group Life Insurance, and they can change it over into Veterans Group Life Insurance, VGLI. That's straight up, it's basically like term. It really doesn't have any cash value anything. If he's looking for something that will grow beyond term, like be with him forever, and also have a cash value, this would be a great solution. It'd be just like anybody else. You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, well, I want to give special thanks. Like what Brant did for you guys tonight, we do have it recorded, and I will post it on the AllianceJacks.com media tab once I get it all split out. I'd watch that over and over again. I would practice the words that he says. And like something I always watch when I watch Brant teach, like when he says, like he does this at one part, like all, you know, he takes a look at all the companies, right? Even watch his hand gestures. There's 93% of communication is nonverbal. So watch people, and not just don't just listen to their words, listens to when they get soft, when they pause, like all that stuff matters. And so I would encourage you to watch it over and over again, because you can't help but start to pick it up if you watch it over and over and over. Like I have this one comedian that I've just been like into. He's hilarious. But no, he is. My daughter disagrees with me.
14 minutes. We could play a little.
Yeah, we should just, you know what? Let me just do some stand-up for you guys. That's a great idea. But when you start to listen to things over and over again, it's easy to mimic it. The trick is, are you going to do that? Are you going to watch it over and over again? You don't have to. You can watch it once. She got photographic memory. Yeah, she's like, oh, I got it. No, but sincerely, thank you for doing that for the team. Best guy, #1 guy in the country teaching that.